Hey everybody in the reggae universe, welcome to a conversation in dub hosted by me, Mark Ramondi.
And me, James Pasqua. This podcast is all about exploring the massive world of reggae and dub music, from its roots in Jamaica to its influence on various music genres worldwide.
This podcast also explores the intricacies of dub through insightful conversations, interviews with artists, and in-depth analysis of iconic tracks. We don't just talk about the music, but also the stories behind it, the techniques used in its production, and the social and political context that shaped its development.
Our goal is to promote mindful listening, taking you, the listener, on the journey the artist intended. Through this process, we hope to introduce you to new music or give you a new insight on music you already know and love.
This podcast is brought to you by Rootfire, a platform for reggae music worldwide with a mission to empower artists and nurture the community that supports them. You're here because you love reggae music and want to be a part of that community. We're here to help connect the dots.
If you have any feedback for us, be sure to email us at aconversationindub@gmail.com or message us on Facebook or Instagram at aconversationindub. We love hearing from you. Now,
let's get to the show. Hey everybody out there in the dub universe. I don't need to do this intro.
No, you don't.
Wow, I just stuck in it. I just went in a time machine right there. That's crazy.
You did. It's been like a week since we've done one of these, so you might have forgotten.
That's true. That's true. Right? This is a podcast on country music? No? Oh no.
That's your other podcast.
Oh, we don't talk about the Bruno.
I don't know.
It's okay.
I don't know. I just
well,
we can save that.
We can. But how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing all right. Good. How you doing?
I am doing wonderful. I'm confused because it's the beginning of November and it's like 80 degrees over here in Jersey. So
is it? Because it's freezing cold here.
That's so weird. That is so weird. You're still in short sleeves though, so I don't quite believe you.
I'm inside.
That is fair. But no, it is an adjustment over here. And it's funny because I have to go and rake leaves today when we're done with this. And it's hot. It's a hot day. So, yeah, I'm
is it
almost
really
like
80
ready
there?
for the season to actually change.
Is it really 80 there right now?
Yeah, dude. It's kind of nuts. It really is.
It's 55
I'm sorry,
here.
76 now. It's gotten a little bit cooler.
It's 55 here.
That makes absolutely no sense to me.
It's only going to get to 62.
God.
It might snow here before it snows there.
It might, which would be absolutely nuts. But I don't know. I'm enjoying it while it happens. It's going to be a nice day. It's going to be a beautiful week, a beautiful weekend. We're heading down to Virginia to celebrate my fiance's birthday on Saturday. Shout out to Catriona for her birthday Saturday. It's going to be fun.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We're going to go down to Alexandria, D.C. area. It's going to be really cool. So I'm very excited. And the good thing about that is we got a long drive, which means we got a lot of opportunities to listen to some cool music, which I'm always excited for on those long trips. And I got a feeling the album we're talking about today is probably going to be throwing itself on that drive a little bit. So I'm really excited to get into this today, man. Break it down for me.
Well, sounds like you're going to be listening to a lot of Steady 45s.
Oof.
LA ska rock steady band in a traditional style. I've been loving this album. I've just been playing it over and over. I've been getting more and more into ska and rocksteady stuff as I'm playing more of it here with Robert Stokes in Vegas.
Makes sense.
And I've just been doing a lot of listening and a lot of studying. And these guys is where it's at. So without saying any more yet, let's get into this song. This is the song called Anywhere But Here on the album Trouble in Paradise from 2017, Steady 45s. We ended up listening to Anywhere But Here and the next song, Valentine's Day. So we encourage you to check both of those songs out and then come back for our conversation.
Wow.
So that was Steady 45s, Anywhere But Here, and Valentine's Day.
I'm so happy you played it into the third track of the album because
so you had heard Anywhere But Here.
I had.
But then you didn't hear the other, which is like such a different vibe.
That's a completely different vibe and a completely different feeling, but the same kind of timbres and colors, which I really
Yeah.
love because there's something about the sound and the quality of this that just sonically the way this comes together that I'm absolutely in love with, and that makes it feel so unbelievably warm. You know what I mean?
Yes. So we've talked a lot about modern bands
Yeah.
sounding traditional,
Yep.
but there's something about these guys that their style is super traditional,
Super.
but also they really record it traditional sounding. I mean, you can hear that room.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you go back and you listen to the Studio One, like Scatolite stuff, you can hear that room.
Yes, you
And
can.
it's like they really wanted that, obviously. And they got it.
I love it.
Because that first track, Anywhere But Here, is just a straight traditional ska tune, and there's so much happening,
Yo.
but it's so good.
It's nuts because before you went from the second track to the third track, I was literally laughing because like the
Yeah.
only word that I could think to describe what they were doing on that track was just unhinged. Like I mean, some of the things that the drummers was just like those fills and like those different sections the drummer would take you into, I was just like, "Oh my god, like how do you even think about that?" And then there would just be moments where the bassist was just like, "Yeah, we're just going to tear this apart, absolutely
Yep.
tear it apart." I'm just like, "Oh my god, like there was so much happening and so much raw talent and showcasing that happened, all in a sense of not overshadowing and all fitting together in a way that made a really cohesive, wonderful sound, which still managed to highlight the incredible vocals. Like, we talk so much about the balance between the vocals and the harmonies and the instruments and things like this. There were moments where the vocals left so much space so that the showcasing of the instruments could shine through and be on that pedestal. But then when the instruments would back off, like when those choruses would happen, there was the harmonies of the vocals were so intricate. It almost reminded me of like an old barbershop quartet type of
Mhm.
harmonies that were happening,
Yeah.
like this old timey sound. I was like, this is incredible, and also requires an insane amount of talent, but it's happening in such a breathy, relaxed, almost carefree way that makes it sound so effortless, but perfectly fitting into the pocket of what it's trying to be.
Right. It's so jazz,
So
right?
jazz.
And I
It's
know
so
I know jazz is a dirty word, blah blah blah, but shut up. This is so jazz, and
it
ska was
is.
so
It
jazz,
is. If those ska
and it
hits
goes
were
with
not
the
there with that walking bass line, you would just have like
um,
a dirty jazz improv piece with these musicians just wrecking it. And I was like, this is cool.
and you hear it with the drums doing what they're
Yep.
doing. I mean, if you just solo the drums, you're like, what is this guy on? Like, is
Yep.
this a drum solo the whole time or no?
Yeah,
But
how did
when
that?
it's
It
put
sounded so
together with the
balanced.
when it's put together with the whole band, it sounds great.
So
And
good.
that's that traditional ska, you
Is
know?
it was wonderful. I mean, it is.
And
I think it's really awesome to highlight tracks like this because I personally I don't think I sit with ska pieces as intentionally or as often as I'd like to. So a lot of these nuances get lost for me when I think about it. Like
right.
it's not my go-to thing that I'm listening to when I'm driving or I'm doing something. Like it's usually just like some dirty dub or some dirty reggae music that I absolutely love. But like to take the time to really isolate this and hear what's happening in this makes me like appreciate this genre so much more. It makes me want to kind of dive down that so much more too. But then you have that balance of the track that was right after. What was the name of that third track, man?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Oh my God. Which just like almost scratches every itch that I'd ever want all on the same album. Like for me, like this wasn't a first listen through for me today because I did hear the first two tracks on this, which boy, contrasting. I mean, the first track is an instrumental and it's awesome. There's so
Mega
many
ska.
things going
Yeah.
on with that. I mean, you've got reggae, you've got Latin, you've got jazz, you've got ska, you've got so many things that they hit you with in this introduction. And then they drop you into such a traditional unhinged ska piece, but then Valentine's Day just has these are three tracks that have completely different feels to them. But it kind of also made me appreciate the intro a little bit more because the intro is almost like a foreshadowing. What are you going to get in this album, and what are the different
Mhm.
ranges and aspects that we can kind of reach to, which makes me really interested about the rest of this album to do a listen through.
Yeah. I mean, they clearly love the traditional Jamaican sound
Yes.
from the early 60s into mid 60s, and they do that range of ska and rocksteady the way that it was done. And yet, like you were saying before, The there's so many elements happening.
So
There's
many.
so much going on. I'm going back to the first song, Anywhere But Here.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that most people listen to music, they hear the vocals first and they're listening to the words. Yes, that is fantastic. He's a fantastic singer. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Go back and listen, but focus on another element.
Yep.
And then do another listen through and focus on another element. Like we said, the drums are just going
Nuts.
bonkers the whole time.
Absolutely nuts.
The bass line is steady. It's got the walking bass line, but every once
Yep.
in a while you'd hear those weird licks.
Yeah,
And you're
steady
like,
till it
whoa,
isn't, and then it's just like, oh my
what's
god, what
going
is he
on
doing?
here? And then you got the guitar and the piano skank so in sync,
So
like
insane.
so in sync that it's making this uniform tone that's just so pleasing to the ear. And
Yeah.
then you have the horns who just knew the assignment of
Yes.
ska jazz horns.
Absolutely. But the
Okay.
skank in this also, like, because it is so consistent and spot on, it almost puts you in like a trance to where you can feel it without hearing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, especially because of the tempo of the ska music. I mean, it's just like dun, dun, dun,
Exactly.
dun,
Like it
dun.
just
It's just
it
like
puts
there.
you in
You're
that
just like
zone,
pumping.
and it opens up your ears to be able to hear everything else. I mean, I think that, like, yes, I think that for a lot of people, like, if you're not used to listening to certain elements of songs and you do hyper focus on one thing, listen to this a bunch of times. But
Mm.
to speak to the level of musicianship happening in this track, I think it is so well balanced and well orchestrated to the point where there is space for your ear to pick on up on a nuance of something different, even in a first listen through, which I think
Yeah.
is rare. You know what I mean? Because it is so well communicated. And I don't know whether that was orchestration that was put into it beforehand or whether these guys are just vibing and know how to speak to each other. You know, we throw a lot of words around several episodes in this podcast, and one of those words is chemistry.
Mm.
This screams chemistry. Like, these musicians
Yeah.
know how to work with each other, around each other, and speak to each other with their instruments here, because the allowance of space and time and balance that was actually in every one of these tracks that I've heard is outstanding, and it's a pleasure to listen to.
I'd be really shocked to find out that they were not recording together.
Oh,
At
yeah.
least for the most part.
Yep.
I'd be really shocked to
I would
find
be
out
too.
that most of it was done separately.
Yeah, I would.
Like the
that'd
drums,
be
the
nuts.
bass, the guitar, the piano, I feel like were all done all at the same time.
Yep, I definitely agree with
If
that.
not
It has, like,
everything else.
I would be so see. This is why we have to have these conversations, because it would be awesome to have them on here to be able to ask that question, because that would absolutely floor me. If they are not doing all of this at the same time, there is a different level of understanding of the pocket of music and what to do and what a certain track needs. That is just a higher level. It's just a higher level of understanding there.
Yeah. And then you have Valentine's Day, which is like if you're just listening to the drums for both of those songs,
Yep,
totally tame.
totally tame.
You know? Valentine's Day just rock steady.
Rock steady the whole time.
That's it.
Nothing. But, like, again,
Didn't
like,
have those elements.
providing a
But-
foundation for your ear to travel to the other things. Like,
Right.
for me, like, the brass section mixed with the flute, that just melted me, man. That was like
Perfect.
a warm hug every time. It was just like, it felt like it just wrapped around you every time it happened.
Perfect. I love the flute in
Yeah.
reggae. I love the flute in general, but I
Yep.
love the flute when it's mixed with brass
Oh.
because there's something about that tone together that, like you said, it's just warm. It's nice.
It
It's
is.
like,
It is. It's good. This is like the perfect
so
kind of,
pleasing.
this is the perfect album to listen to on a snowy day. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a warm hug. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love this. And
Little hot cocoa, little rock steady.
that's right. That's right. It's just, I don't know. Something about this, man. This is a wonderful way to kind of bring in the fall season, even though it's 80 degrees out here, but wonderful way to bring in
Well-
the change of the season, because there's a certain warmth here, a certain timbre, and it's just something that you just want to sit back in and enjoy. You know, listening to these tracks just feel like you're sitting in on like a lazy boy and just putting your feet up and relaxing on something. It just makes you comfortable. And I think that's a really, really cool thing to get from music, especially like this time of year where things start to get crazy around the holidays and people are just jumping all around and juggling a million and one things. This is a wonderful album to just kind of like put yourself on a vacation, even when you're not on one. Just give your ears a vacation, give your body a little rest. Like, this is that. It gives you that feeling, you know?
Yeah, and I've never seen them live, but I would absolutely love to because right now they've been on repeat for me for a while now, and
Yeah, I see
I
why.
would love to catch them. And they're different from other acts out there like the Acolytes,
Yeah.
who are more skinhead reggae ska style, where it's like it's really upbeat like that, but it's just a totally different vibe,
Yeah,
you know. But they're
absolutely.
totally in the same circle.
But I could see live how that would be a really cool dynamic with the both of them. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, right.
That'd be nuts.
I've
But
I've seen videos of the Steady 45s live, and it looks awesome. I mean, they like dress the part
oh,
too.
that's so
I mean,
cool.
they're just like
That's so cool.
mega traditional jazz guys, but bring a punk rock crowd. It's that whole mix up that's just perfect.
It is. It
I would
is.
I
And
would love to go
you
see it.
you can't speak highly enough to the musicianship and the precision it takes to play good ska music. You really can't. I just think it's
I'm
very
I'm learning that right now
oh
as I'm
my
playing
god.
more of it.
There it's
it's
just
it's a lot.
it's a lot. Like to be able to internalize that pulse and feel it and keep it consistent without rushing it and allowing everything to fit in the pocket that it needs and be
Mm.
able to attack things consistently but not aggressively to the point where you allow that open space and communication amongst the instruments. That is a really difficult art form to master when it comes to really good ska music. And I feel like this is the perfect example of like, because there's some ska for me that I listen to and I'm like, that's a little abrasive. Like, that's cool or like a once around, but like, I'm good. I could listen to that track on repeat and never feel like it's anything other than a really amazing balance of good music. And that is what's really cool.
Yeah, and we should probably have somebody on to kind of go through the phases of ska because when we say ska, it's a
Broad.
huge umbrella. It ranges from stuff we just listened
Yeah.
to like No Doubt to like stuff Sublime was doing
Yep.
or there's such a huge range. So when we say a certain kind of ska, it could
Yeah.
be anything,
It's about
you
as
know.
wide of a range as saying the word jazz. It's just, it's,
Right? It's jazz.
it's
Okay, I have no
jazz.
idea what that is.
Exactly. Like that's
Yeah,
a whole nother conversation to be had. And I would love
right.
to be able to have like a ska specialist to break down like the elements and the timeline of ska and the evolution of it as well too, because there's so much to get into with that, which would be a really fun conversation. But I think on top of that, it would just be wonderful to have anybody from this band on talk about this experience and making albums and tracks like this, the inspiration behind it and the process. Like this is one of those instances where the process is really, really intriguing for me. I mean, it's always intriguing for us because we're music nerds, but like this one, like there's something really special going on here between this dynamic and understanding some of that secret sauce and how that comes together would just be an absolute honor. So really awesome tracks with this.
Yeah, you know what I think about sometimes when I listen to stuff like this too, because they're making it sound traditional.
Yeah.
Is if like the original players that made this music in the early 60s or whatever, if they could hear them doing this now, would they be like, why are you trying to sound the way we did? Like we were trying to sound new. Why are you
Yep.
trying to sound old? Like
That's so
is that what they would think, or would they think like, no, this is great. This is exactly what it should be?
yeah,
I don't know.
that's so interesting. I mean, again, everything has to do with the context of like how far music's come, the new developments that have come, and then the nostalgia that comes with something like this, you know?
Right.
And
The
I think
nostalgia is really
that's the
key.
element that really makes this stands out. It gives you that nostalgia, but at the same time, sonically, oh, there's just so much happening, so much to
And
unpack.
and these guys obviously know the tradition of this music, and
Oh
they're
yeah,
paying tribute to it, and they're not just saying this was cool, let's do that. They're like, no, this was a thing
yeah.
that meant so much to us that we're going to pay homage to it.
That's the thing. It's not just paying homage and paying respects. There's a certain level of passion that you can tell is
Yeah,
put behind creating something like this and the way that it's done, that it resonates with these artists. And that is what I love about it because even though it's new, it still manages to be authentic because it
right.
has that same passion. And that's
Yeah.
what I think brings the authenticity to an album like this and really makes it stand out. Like this is an awesome listen through and these tracks have been incredible.
Yeah, so I guess you'll be doing some more listening
Yeah,
today.
I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna rake some leaves. I'm gonna listen to the rest of this album, and hopefully we can get in touch with these guys and get them on to talk about this process, because this is definitely a can of worms I want to open up and get into with this, because I think there's a lot more to be learned from these guys, a lot more to get into, and a lot more music to hopefully come from these guys that we can be excited about. So definitely, guys, go and check out the rest of this album with me if you get a chance today. If you have an open window, start from the beginning. I wouldn't start from where we left you off, or where you left off from this listening, because we did listen to 2 tracks and they were number 2 and 3 on the album. Start from the beginning, because that first track, let me see, what's the name of that first track on the album? It is Maria Julia.
Maria Julia.
That, in my opinion, is a really nice essence of what you're going to experience through the rest of the album. It kind of takes you through a little miniature instrumental tour of like how far these guys can reach into different genres and what kind of a ride you're going to go on. So I'm ready to buckle up and do the rest of the listen through on this. This was absolutely awesome.
This album's only 30 minutes, and they have other albums. So if you like this, go check out the one before this and the one after it, because they're both fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, man, this has been a pleasure, and definitely a welcomed listen through today on this beautiful fall day. So I hope you guys are all having a fantastic fall, a really awesome November, and good luck as we head into these holiday seasons. And remember, everybody,
Keep
dubbing.
Thanks for listening to A Conversation in Dub, hosted by James Pasqua and Mark Raimondi. Conversation in Dub is brought to you by Rootfire, a platform for reggae music worldwide with a mission to empower artists and nurture the community that supports them. You're here because you love reggae music and want to be a part of that community? We're here to help you connect the dots.
This show is produced and edited by James Pasqua. Our theme music is an original composition called Keep Dubbing by James Pasqua and Mark Raimondi. If you want to hear previous episodes containing full songs, you can find them all on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Conversation in Dub. And if you have any feedback, requests, or just want to talk about music, reach out there or email us at aconversationindub@gmail.com. Make sure to rate us on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, keep dubbing.